Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education Gifted Education Virtual Webinar. My name is Sion John, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also presenting today, we have Dr. Jonathan Plucker, a Julian Stanley Endowed Professor of Talent Development at Johns Hopkins University. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with your colleagues or friends who might be interested in the program as well. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Please have your mic on mute at all times during the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box, and Dr. Plucker and I will read and answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Plucker will introduce himself and discuss an overview and details of the Gifted Education Program. We also have a current student of the Gifted Education Program, Sarah Melmed, and she will discuss her experience attending the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Lastly, I'll wrap it up with the admissions requirements and leave the floor open for questions at the end. Again, please keep in mind to type your questions in the chat box at the end of the presentation. To start, quick facts about the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007 and celebrating our 10th anniversary last year. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,600 students. All programs leading to licensure is approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. We have campuses in Baltimore, Maryland, Columbia, Maryland, and offer classes online. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. At this time, I am going to hand the floor over to Dr. Plucker. He is going to introduce himself and present on the Gifted Education Program.
Thank you, Sion. Welcome, everybody. I believe we have people signed up from today for the webinar from 6, 7 different countries, several different U.S. states, and I'm very happy that you've joined us to learn more about our program. Let me introduce myself and Professor Gilbolt first, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty about the program. As Sion said, I'm the Julian C. Stanley Endowed Professor here at Johns Hopkins. I work both at the School of Education and at the Center for Talented Youth. Many of you are probably familiar with both. I'm a former high school science and elementary school gifted ed teacher. I did that for a few years before going back to school and getting my doctorate at the University of Virginia. I study and teach lots of different things. I was originally an educational psychologist, so I was really interested in student creativity, talent development, how students learn, how to assess that learning. And then over the past, say, 15 years or so, sort of the second half of my career, I've been doing a lot more with education policy, actually trying to get the things that we're learning about these special students and getting policymakers to pay attention to it so that educators have sort of all the best conditions and resources to meet these students' needs. My last couple of books are on excellence gaps in education and creativity. We use those texts in our classes, which I'll talk more about in a bit. Other important things, I think, I'm the president-elect of the National Association for Gifted Children here in the States, and my term starts September 1st of this year and runs through September 1st of 2021, which is very exciting because being in that role really allows me to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on with gifted education all over the world, which is a lot of fun. Let's go on the next slide, and I will introduce Dr. Guilbeault. Carey joined us about just over 2 years ago now. She's an assistant professor of gifted education within the School of Ed. She has worked at other universities too in the same role. She has a lot of experience working with graduate students as they pursue certification and their master's degrees within gifted education. She's a highly experienced K-12 educator, and she's also served as a district supervisor of large district gifted education programs, both in her native Florida and here in Maryland. She brings a lot of experience. She also is a specialist on parenting gifted students, which is an expertise you often don't see in these types of programs. So we're, for many, many reasons, very, very happy to have Carey here with us. She just finished a term as the parent rep on the NAGC Board of Directors, where she really helped the larger organization's goals, focusing on the needs of parents and their children. She's on the Board of Trustees for the Mensa Foundation, where she has done lots of really impressive work, especially supporting educators pursuing graduate education like our programs. And she is the president here in Maryland of the Coalition for Gifted and Talented Education. Next slide. So the program has been around for some time. Carey and I became involved with it about 2 years ago, and we both broadened and narrowed it, which I will explain as we go through these slides, to make sure that it was meeting the needs of a wide range of people who are concerned about talent development. The primary audience is teachers of the gifted, but we also have teachers who are general K-12 teachers who have to work with talented students within their regular classrooms, and also special education teachers. We have some parents who have just wanted to learn more about how to advocate better for their gifted children, and certainly how to help meet their needs more effectively. And we do a lot of work with school administrators, district coordinators. Many district coordinators in the sort of mid-Atlantic United States have graduate degrees from this program over the years, and we are we spend a lot of time thinking about how we can make this coursework appropriate for school counselors, who are often the gatekeepers to advanced programming for these students. We have two different options. The first is the certificate program, and the second is the master's. I will talk about each one in more depth. They can both be now fully taken online. That's new this year, and you can do it blended. So if you are local and want a mix of online and face-to-face courses, the vast majority of those face-to-face courses are taught at the Columbia campus. And we've been talking to school districts if they're interested in a cohort model where a bunch of educators get together and take courses on site or online in some sort of hybrid, we are definitely open to that, as are my bosses at the School of Education. So the Master of Science, I'm the advisor for master's students. It's a 33 credit program. It's considered part of the School of Ed's MS in Education program, degree program, excuse me. So you would receive a master's in education with a concentration in gifted education. Because it includes all of the certificate programs, it does certify you to work with gifted students and to receive that endorsement within the state of Maryland. All of our coursework applies to the standards and best practices by the two major professional organizations in this area, NAGC, and also the Council for Exceptional Children, which has a division called the Association for the Gifted, or TAG. So everything we do is NAGC and CEC TAG compliant. The other program is the 6-credit sequence for the graduate certificate. And this is specifically for teachers who want the Maryland State Department of Education Gifted and Talented Specialist certification. It's an extra endorsement, which I will talk about in the next slide. But it really covers the foundations of working with talented students. So we go into the foundations of the field, a little history, characteristics of advanced students, and then obviously curriculum, instruction, assessment to meet the needs of these students, differentiation, things like that within the regular classroom and within special programs too. And this slide doesn't mention it, but we have a course specifically devoted to social and emotional development of advanced students. That's an area that would have been hard even a decade ago to actually teach a social and emotional needs course. But there's just been this explosion of really good studies over this past 10 years, and we've learned so much about how to support bright students and their affective development. So we have an entire course just for that. So there's the 6-credit core through the certificate, and then there are additional courses you take on top of that for the master's. So there's a rule in Maryland, because the gifted ed certificate is an endorsement on top of your regular teaching license. You have to have 27 months of teaching experience for Johns Hopkins once you've completed the certificate or master's, to recommend to the state of Maryland's Department of Education that they give you the gifted ed certification. In many other states that doesn't matter, in other countries that probably doesn't matter, but we just want to make sure there are no misunderstandings from anyone who wants to use this certificate or this degree to teach within Maryland, that it's an add-on, and that you do need to have essentially 3 years of teaching experience before you can get that official state endorsement. This slide basically says what I just alluded to, that if you're not interested in teaching in Maryland, or if your state or country has different rules, we are happy to work with you. This happens every single year. Someone comes in and says, I don't have 27 months, but I'm not going to teach in Maryland. In my state, there are different rules. We are happy to work with you on that. And obviously, if you are not a classroom teacher, then that requirement does not matter. But we just want to make sure that people know that if you that there are special rules that we do have to follow, and that we will work with you on if you want to use the certificate endorsement within the state of Maryland. So students have 5 years to complete either the certificate or the master's. The certificate is generally completed within 4 semesters. So if you're willing to take summer courses, you can get it done essentially in about an 18-month period. If not, 24 months is very, very common. The master's degree takes a little bit longer just because there's 5 more courses. And that's generally a 2 to 3 year cycle for most people. Yeah, you're going to hear from Sarah in a slide or 2 here, and she can talk about her experience. But in general, our students seem to be taking about 2 to 2.5 years part-time working on that master's. Some of these next 2 slides talk about some of the special features, and Carey and I talked just about what makes ours different. Because all programs in this area within the US follow the NAGC standards, many of the programs look very, very similar. Ours is a little different just because of where we place different emphases. I'm going to talk about a few here, and then I'm going to talk a few in the next slide. Because one of my major areas of interest is helping students become more creative in all walks of life, in school, after school, on the sports field, everywhere, at home. We really emphasize creativity. It sort of weaves throughout all of our courses, but we do have a specific course on creativity that I teach about once a year. Because Carey and I are very active within the field, we take special pride in the fact that our curriculum, instruction, assessment material is as cutting edge as you can make it. We know all the top researchers, we're reading all the top journals, we go to all the major conferences just to make sure that the material that we're sharing with our students is literally the latest and greatest that people around the world have been discovering. So in some cases, you know, people do the research, you wait a few years, it ends up in textbooks, people use it in their courses. Well, we have really shortened that lag time so that when a really interesting, helpful, important, cool study comes out, in some cases, in the very next week, we are telling our students about it. So we have really tried to get the best of the world's thinking and research into our courses as fast as we can. And over the past couple of years, I think we've done a really, really good job with that. And then this third point, leadership of advanced learning programs. Because we have Carey with all of her amazing, deep, rich experience helping to lead programs within districts. And now I have not done that within a K-12 district, but I work with districts all the time to help them advocate for the needs of these students. We really emphasize that this program is in part, of course, to help train people to work with students and meet their needs, but we want the graduates of the Johns Hopkins Gifted Ed program to be leaders within their districts and communities, within their states, within their countries. That's a really important goal for us. So if you want to learn these things, great. If you want to learn these things and be a leader, even better. That's something that we highly, highly value and support. So some unique emphases that you won't see in other similar programs is the creativity emphasis, we hit very, very hard. And then twice exceptionality. So many of our students have amazing strengths, but then also amazing learning difficulties and challenges. It can be social and emotional issues, mental health issues. It can be autism. It can be dyslexia, other learning disabilities. Because our program has always had has had a very close relationship with the Johns Hopkins very well-known special education programs, we have always had a dedicated course on working with twice exceptional students. This is a big concern for administrators, teachers, parents, community members now. We have an entire course just devoted to this. It's very important to us. Because of the social emotional that I mentioned before, the twice exceptionality, creativity, we firmly believe that a graduate of either of our programs has a very comprehensive perspective on the lives of advanced students. And we really strive to provide as comprehensive a picture as we possibly can. Our courses are almost all taught by me and Carey. So we don't use a lot of adjunct professors. It is all about full-time faculty who are studying this every day, all day long. Again, making sure that you're getting the best, most recent, up-to-date information. Because we're moving a lot of these courses, actually all of our courses are now online. It doesn't matter where you are. You can participate in these asynchronous courses. We're putting a lot of effort to make sure that these are the best online courses anyone can find anywhere within this field. So it doesn't matter if you're in Thailand or Egypt or Maryland, you can fully participate. And because we're offering these courses in so many different ways, online, hybrid, face-to-face programming, we understand that you're all extremely busy people with families, jobs, and other things, lots of other responsibilities, concerns, and issues. And so we are very, very flexible about most aspects of this program. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Sarah Melmed, who has joined us. Sarah is a master's student who's finishing up in 2019. She started a year ago, fall, I believe.
Correct.
So correct, right? Fall of 2017. I will let her introduce herself. She's one of our prize students. And thank you for taking the time today, Sarah.
Of course. So hi, everybody. I'll just quickly introduce myself. I am from Maryland. I grew up in Montgomery County, and I now work in Montgomery County as a fourth grade teacher in a gifted program for fourth and fifth graders called the Center for Enriched Studies. And about a year ago, I decided to begin the program with a co-teacher because in our county, there's not a lot of opportunity for teachers to professional development opportunities for teachers who teach gifted learners. So this program seemed like a good fit, and it was close to home, and we could work as full-time teachers at the same time as taking graduate courses. So I'm gonna kind of go through just quickly some of my own experience, and then I'm not sure if we're able to ask questions, but I'm happy to if others have questions. So again, like I said, I am a full-time teacher of fourth graders, and I'm also balancing 2 courses per semester. Lauren and I, my co-teacher, have taken summer courses as well. I think similar to other graduate programs, it is an adjustment to get used to. However, we have both found that it's not too difficult to balance. And one of the best things I think about this program in my experience is that everything we've done has been extremely authentic. just speaking candidly, I think we've all taken a college course before where you feel like maybe there's readings that are, unnecessary or not relevant, or projects that are, not relevant to what you're actually doing in your real life. But the greatest thing about this program has genuinely been all of the connections that we have been able to make to our own classroom. And, while we are teachers of gifted students, there are plenty of other people in the program who are parents of gifted learners, who are not, not in the field of teaching yet, who are just passionate about it. And they have communicated the same things, that everything we're doing is interesting and it's relevant. So although you're spending, a decent amount of time working on projects, everything is applicable. So as far as our professors, Dr. Plucker had mentioned that you primarily, the courses you'll take are with him and Dr. Gibault, which I'm actually going to run to a class at 5 o'clock after this open house. But it's really nice actually having both of them as teachers, because they know each other. You get to know them as a student as well. They get to know you as a learner, help you develop over the couple years you're in the program. And the most awesome thing I have seen is that they're extremely receptive to feedback, and like they said, flexibility and understanding that we all have other things going on in our life. So even though there is a lot of work, just like any graduate program, they want you to succeed. They want to help you. Let me think about some other things. The other thing that I've really enjoyed is that all the class sizes, whether they're online or in person, are a nice size where you're able, for example, in a seminar, there are enough people that you're able to have a conversation, but you're not sitting in a lecture hall. You're not sitting in a class of even 20 students. There's usually, I think my largest class was 15 perhaps or less. So you're getting that time with your professors. It's quality instruction. They value hearing from you and learning from you as well. So all of those have been really awesome attributes of this program. I'm in my second year currently. I would say that my first year, I was a second year teacher, so it is a lot to balance at first, but I just really want to reiterate that this program has been amazing. I've learned so much from it, and it's encouraged me to go on and pursue my PhD in a gifted education related field, and then work on in gifted education for the rest of my life. So this has been a fantastic program.
Thank you again, Sarah, for sharing your experience with us. So now we are going to continue by going over the application requirements for the gifted education program. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Please keep in mind the application fee is $80. Priority consideration deadline is April 1st. Applications accepted after this date is based on space availability. Be sure to provide an accurate email address when you submit your application, and that you check it regularly, as this is how we will communicate with you throughout the application process. You will need a current resume or CV, and you should submit 2 letters of recommendation. Next, 500-word essay must be uploaded. A 500-word essay discussing the reasons you wish to pursue a degree at Johns Hopkins School of Education, focusing on your long-term goals and how your academic program will complement those goals. Discuss the strengths and weaknesses in your academic background, as well as any additional comments that will assist in evaluating your application materials. Lastly, we need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is all from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you are an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. If your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. Also note that we do not offer I-20 for part-time or online programs. Please contact the Office of International Services if you have any questions. Tuition and fees. We anticipate the tuition for the 2019-2020 academic school year will be $840 per credit for online courses. The anticipated 2019-2020 base tuition cost of the program is $27,720 for 33 credits online and $15,120 for the 18 credits graduate certificate, again online. This excludes textbook, course materials, graduation fee, and registration fee. Please note additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our website for the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees so that you can understand the complete picture of the costs associated with becoming a student here at Johns Hopkins School of Education. If you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. Please note the priority financial aid application deadline listed on this slide. Please visit our website if you have any questions relating to financial aid. You'll find contact information for the Office of Financial Aid and details of loans and scholarships and grants that are available. If you have any questions relating to your application, please feel free to email or call us. Also, this is the address you would use to send any supporting materials, such as official transcripts. Here are additional contact information for admissions. Please contact Jade Marjoram. And then for program-related questions, Kiana Napper. Thank you for attending the Gifted Education virtual webinar. At this time, Dr. Plucker and I would like to open up the floor for questions. Again, please type your questions in the chat box.
While we're waiting for any questions, I want to thank Sarah and Sian for all of their help walking us through this and providing all this helpful information. Thanks to you both.
All right, so Dr. Plucker, it looks like we have a couple questions from students. The very first question is there a thesis option available as part of the master's seminar or practicum courses?
There is not technically. There are plenty of similar types of projects, and less in the practicum course, but more via that seminar course that you mentioned. But there currently is not an official thesis option.
All right, so the next question, can you please clarify the following? To be eligible for the graduate certificate in gifted education, I need to be a state certified teacher with 27 months teaching and experience, but the online Master of Science in Education, gifted education, does not require any prior U.S. state certification.
Technically, yes, but let me walk through this again because it's a really important distinction. And I guess let's answer it in two different ways. If you're interested in using the certification in Maryland, then you have to have an initial teacher certification before you start. And by the time you finish the certificate or the master's, either one, you need to have those 27 months. So Sarah is a good example of someone who started before she had the 27, but she will have it by the time she gets her master's. So she's going to be fine. She's going to get her master's, her state certification. If you're outside of Maryland in a different state or a different country, it really depends on what the rules are where you live. We're happy to talk to your Ministry of Education or your State Department of Education to figure out what we need to do. The practicum is usually a sticking point that we have to kind of negotiate, but we're doing it with people now. So I have a student who just finished, who drives down from southeastern Pennsylvania for her courses. And we were able to get it worked out. She worked with her state Department of Education, and she's going to get what she needs. I don't believe her state has a 27-month rule. So it really depends on what the rules are, where you live, or I guess more to the point, the rules are where you want to use it, if you want to use it for a teaching credential. So for the master's, if you're a parent pursuing the master's, then it doesn't matter, right? If you're an administrator, it doesn't matter. If you want to use the master's, then the same 27-month rule applies if you want to use it in Maryland. If you don't, then we just need to work with you to figure out what works for you locally.
Thank you, Dr. Plucker. Our next question is asking, how much does the gifted education curriculum for the master's program focus on twice exceptional leaders?
Can you read the first part of it again? The question broke up a little bit.
How much does the gifted education curriculum for the master's program focus on exceptional leaders? Learners.
Learners. Quite a bit. So you have your twice exceptional course, but then we cover twice exceptional students and working with twice exceptional students in just about every other course that we teach, especially for the certificate. For the master's, it's impossible for me to say, yes, the needs of those students are covered in every single course, because it depends on what you do your practicum with, where you do your practicum. You have 2 electives to take. It's really up to you. But for those core courses within the certificate, it is a major focus. And again, it's sort of a happy accident that we inherited from previous versions of this program that really came out of the old special education department. The School of Education doesn't have departments anymore, but we have maintained that very close relationship with our special ed colleagues. And they often help us teach specifically the twice exceptional course. And your question didn't ask this, but I didn't raise it sooner, and I really should have with the benefit of hindsight. Another area that we really emphasize in everything we do is equity, diversity, inclusion. We don't have a separate course on it, and that's a deliberate decision. We think that working with diverse students, which anyone who interacts with students now, anywhere in the entire world, is working generally with pretty diverse groups of students, whether it's twice exceptional or gender, race, ethnicity, income, family income. We've never had such diverse student populations. We think that that's so important that we work that into every single class that we have, rather than just have it be a standalone course, which, I have lots of friends who teach those types of courses. They're great, but we think it's so important that it really has to be infused in everything. So diversity defined broadly, from 2E to race, ethnicity, to income, gender, etc., gets covered everywhere.
All right, so we have time for maybe a couple minutes. We have one question asking, are there any online courses requiring live web attendance at a certain time?
No. I can't speak for online electives, but I believe the answer is no across the board. Within the gifted ed courses, definitely not. We will occasionally have sort of a synchronous, all at the same time orientation sessions. But there are lots of ways that we can handle that if there are time zone problems and things like that. But the actual coursework itself is 100% asynchronous.
All right, wonderful. It looks like there are no more questions. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Plucker and Sarah.
Thank you, everybody. Please let us know if you have any questions.